Roman Katzman, in his seminal paper, The Other End of Gesture, says that man observes a picture, a flower, a sunset, but more than anything else, man observes man. So I can tell your darkest secrets without you uttering a word. Every twitch of your eye, every hesitant blink, every trembling puff from your weak chest reveals tomes to one as trained in the nonverbal language as I. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. Ice cream machine's still broken.
Damn it! I'll have an apple pie then. Dr. Albert Mehrabian, a pioneer of communication studies, established the 7-38-55 rule. In situations where people have difficulty determining meaning, like with sarcasm or heightened emotional states, the resulting interpretation is broken down this way. 7% of the meaning is based on the words being said. 38% of the meaning comes from tone and inflection, and 55% comes from body language, nonverbal communication, facial expressions, things like that. So, with it being split up like that, why don't we really figure out how to nail down the body language in our stories? This is part 1 of a 2-part video. Subscribe to see part 2 when I break down the most popular book on body language into actionable writing advice. Check it out. Body language extends beyond what you normally think of. The shrugs, the nods, the smiles, the glares are commonplace in writing already. We see it all the time. But body language is an entire vocabulary readily available at your fingertips if you look for it. In fact, facial expressions and universal gestures like the good old shrug can be found in the most basic of fiction. It's the equivalent to our base vocabulary as writers, the saids, the asks, the whispers. But for the most part, these gestures aren't used to create new context. These universal gestures are used to eliminate dialogue and to speed up pacing. It's kind of a wasted line in your book for a character to respond with, yes. Why break up other dialogue, create a whole new line on the page just for someone to say, yes? This is where you throw in a nod or replace a I don't know with a shrug. And this is something you should definitely adopt in your writing if you're not already. And on like a micro scale, it doesn't really mean a lot. But with how much conversation revolves around questions and answers like this, it can really add up. This body language is really about efficiency, this universal body language. It doesn't add new meaning, it's not context aware. So how do we use body language to do more? Going a bit deeper with body language means looking at how bodies communicate. And what I mean by that is, yes, we use nods, we use shrugs and other similar gestures as communication, but body language isn't always meant to be part of that obvious communication. And this is where we get a little bit deeper. We'll be going into more detail on this when we break down What Every Body Is Saying by Joe Navarro.
Joe Navarro.
But here's the primer. Nonverbal communication isn't always intentional. It's these intrinsic movements that are just part of being human that come out in ways that we can still interpret pretty clearly. And that's important for your novel. You should only be writing body language if it means something. But hey, you know what? This is also what we should be doing with dialogue as well. So just take that as a general rule. So that naturally leads to the question of how to use body language effectively. And I'm going to create 2 categories here for this video. But again, I expect to learn a ton more in part 2 of this. Let's start with nonverbal language as purposeful and instinctual. Purposeful body language replaces dialogue. Your character is choosing to use body language to say something. Now, you know I love Robert McKee's outlook on dialogue, the said, the unsaid, and the unsayable. Purposeful body language can fill the role of the unsaid. Picture this. 2 people unsure of how the other feels, but both wanting something more from their relationship. There's that tension, right? Instead of saying to each other, "Do you want me?" something that could result in outright rejection, things can be said with body language, with the gesture, right? One person puts out their hand and barely makes contact, testing the waters, seeing the response. This is purposeful body language, nonverbal communication that says a ton. Now, this is different from that universal body language that we just looked at before. This is using body language to replace dialogue in a specific context-aware moment, and that context is important. This purposeful body language is a character trying to communicate something in place of dialogue. The other category of body language is instinctual, right? This is the unintentional body language that underlies the thoughts and the feelings of your character, whether they want those thoughts and feelings to be communicated or not. And I love these. Oh, they're so good. They're so good. Hold on. Sympathetic nervous system. More like pathetic nervous system, am I right? Woo! These are the habits charged with nervous energy, the picking on the fingernail, the chewing of a lip, tapping of a foot. Look, I love to create characters that have these little habits. And of course, everything in moderation. But so many of these little habits we consider bad habits, which first of all, they're very human and very realistic. And second of all, these little movements of body language become a very visceral message to the reader, especially in POVs where we don't get to see in the head of the character. In cases with third person, where we may not be privy to the inner thoughts of our protagonist or of their friends, body language plays an even more important role. A cinematic viewpoint relies on the action of the characters to communicate all of that internal conflict. And that's where instinctual body language shines. Have you ever seen this kind of movie where a cop comes into a gas station and everything seems pretty normal, right? But then the cop is able to deduce that the gas station is being robbed because of how strange the owner is acting. Body language, baby. Or in video games, when a character is lying and you have to figure it out by reading their really, really subtle facial expressions. Body language, big boy, use it! This instinctual body language can even extend beyond movement and to like autonomous body responses. Write your characters having a sheen of sweat on their brow in tense moments. That's human. Honestly, not enough sweat in our books. Write about people getting a flushed face when there's a lot of attention on them or when they're being caught in a lie. Now, maybe you might be saying that this detail doesn't make it into your books because of, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Whatever your point is, you're wrong. But we as humans, well, if your main character or your characters are human, I guess I should say, are literally designed to read these signs. And usually we act on them. So use body language in your books. God, if only someone would put together some more comprehensive list of body language cues and when to use them. Are you a human being with a beating heart and a functioning nervous system? Ha, damn, that sucks. Side effects may include dry mouth, throat clearing, trembling lips, tightening jaw muscles, shallow breathing, holding breath, audible sighs, racing heart, trembling hands, fidgeting, clenched fists, hands going cold, palms sweaty, knees weak, arms heavy, vomit, sweater already, knees locked, tensing up, shrinking in, sudden stillness, chest puffing out, shifting weight, bouncing foot, crossing legs, and goosebumps. If side effects persist, consider talking to your doctor about being a more chill dude. Subscribe for part 2 of this video where I put together an actual body language vocabulary that you can print out or study or whatever you want. And come hang out in the Discord with over 500 other writers who talk craft, do writing challenges, and share stories. And as always, thank you for watching.